Alright, welcome back, garden friends. We are in the greenhouse today, and I want to bring you guys along as we talk about what is known as cool flowers. And you're wondering what cool flowers are? Well, honestly, I don't know a whole lot about it, but everything that I have learned in the recent weeks has been from the Cool Flower book from Mason Ziegler. I really highly recommend that you try this book out. If you're curious about more information, please go and buy her book on her website, and I'll link it down below. If you buy it off of her website instead of Amazon, which I really wished I would have known this prior to purchasing it, she'll sign it, she'll autograph your book if you buy it from her website instead of Amazon. It's a really cool book. So, without further ado, let's get into the cool weather flowers. So what is cool flowers? Well, in Lisa's book, what I have learned, they are flowers that you would typically, especially the southern states that get warmer climates and don't have harsh winters, you would actually plant these flowers in fall, meaning that you would seed start them in the late summer and plant them out into the ground in the fall and let them overwinter, and in early spring they would come and start to bloom. So I'm a little late into the game about planting out in the fall because I'm just getting started, but that does not mean that I am too late to try these flowers, which the ones that I have picked, which in this book you'll find a long list other than the ones that I am going to talk to you about, because there is a slew of flowers that will fall into the category of cool flowers. So the ones that I am going to be growing are Bells of Ireland, Feverfew, Lisianthus, which you guys know on the seed starting video, I already showed you about me starting the Champagne Lisianthus. And Snapdragons is also a cool weather flower. Straw flowers and sweet peas and yarrow. So these are out of the list that is in her book. These are the flowers that I have purchased for my upcoming flower gardens. Now, typically, she would recommend that you start them, like I said, in the late summer and then plant them out and overwinter them. That way they have a flush of growth early in the spring, actually before your last frost date. That way in the early spring they are growing and blooming earlier in the season, and you get a longer life out of them because they do not do well in the heat. This does not mean that I have missed the window of opportunity to plant these flowers into my garden. All this means is that I need to start these seeds at least 12 weeks prior to my last frost date. Lisa recommends that you plant out your seedlings, which should be anywhere from 2 to 4 weeks old. Plant them out into the garden 6 to 8 weeks before your last frost date. So in order to get seedlings that are 2 to 4 weeks old of growth, I need to start my seeds 12 weeks prior to my last frost date. That way I can get them into the ground within the 6 to 8 weeks before my last frost date. I hope that that makes sense. I'm actually on the line of 7A/B. So my last frost date that is predicted for me here in central Oklahoma is going to be April 10th. So I actually went off of last year's frost date, which I haven't recorded on my garden journal, which was probably around April 18th. So what I'm going to do is I'm telling myself that I want to plant my seedlings out in, which I'll get my little new calendar, and it's so beautiful, you guys. I found this at Walmart for $10. I just think it's amazing and beautiful. So my last predicted frost date is going to be April 11th, not 10th. So that means that I want to be able to plant these seedlings out 6 to 8 weeks before my last frost date, which, if you look here, which I've went into my calendar, and this is the 6 week before last frost date. So that is actually February the 28th. Is going to be 6 weeks prior to my last frost date. 8 weeks is going to be Valentine's Day. So in order for me to get 2 to 4 week old seedlings, that is going to mean that I am going to have to start January 24th or January 31st in order for my seedlings to be 2 to 4 weeks in age and growth. That way, when we put them out in the ground, they will have a good start and be able to handle some frost and cold temperatures. That is whenever I will be starting those seeds. Now, when you talk about bells of Ireland, you talk about a seed that needs code stratification. And if you're not for sure what code stratification is, it is a seed that is required to have a period of coldness. They have to have those cold temperatures in order for them to actually germinate. And I have put a list together that I had actually did some research on and got the information out of the Cool Flowers Lisa Mason Ziegler's book. In that category, if you're going to start these flowers from seed, it is recommended that you at least give them a cold stratification period for 2 weeks, or some are even longer. You just need to do your research, because I absolutely do not know everything. Honestly, I don't know anything, and I'm just learning along the way, and I'm trying to share with you what I have learned, and hopefully that it works. So in the list of code stratification seeds that you do need to refrigerate are milkweed, lupine, scabiosa, pincushion flower, bells of Ireland, yarrow. These are some of the flowers that I will be putting into the refrigerator 2 weeks prior to starting their seeds. Some I have already gotten in the freezer or the refrigerator because I will be starting them this week or the end of the month in order to get them into the ground 6 to 8 weeks prior to my last frost date. I have also did some research on some of the flowers that I am also starting for my garden and found out that I had quite a few in my list that require light to germinate. And remember when we planted the Lisianthus seeds the other day? We sprinkled the vermiculite on top. This means that a seed must be exposed to light in order to germinate. If it does not have light and it is covered, you probably most likely will not get great germination. Doesn't mean that you won't get any germination. No, but it just means you probably will not get very good germination. So in that array of list of flowers that I am going to be starting this year are bells of Ireland, feverfew, Lisianthus, snapdragons, and yarrow. These are in the list of flowers that I will be growing for my garden. This does not mean that every flower, that is every flower within that list. Again, please do your research. If you have a particular flower that you are going to be trying to grow this year, please make sure you do your research and you find out when these seeds need to be started and when they need to be planted into the ground for your area, and if they require cold stratification or light to germinate. All right, you guys, I really hope I made sense to you, because I've really been doing a lot of research and studying on how to be a successful flower gardener. That does not mean that I know what I'm doing, because I absolutely do not, but I am trying to bring to you things that I have learned, and hopefully we can grow some beautiful flowers together and be very successful and bring joy and happiness to others through the beauty of our gardens. You know, I wanted to show to you guys that I put together a layout of my picking flower garden, that I'm going to do this year. So these back rows right here, the 5 first rows are going to be sunflowers. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. These sunflowers is going to be succession planting. So I'll plant this bed out 1 week, then a week and a half this one, a week and a half this one, week and a half this one, week and a half this one. That way, by the time that I am cutting this bed, I already have sunflowers coming up, and there'll be a rotation of cutting sunflowers. And I hope and pray, let me take my jacket off. It's a little warm in here. I am hoping and praying that I will be able to keep cutting sunflowers from after or before Mother's Day on to almost the last of the season before our first frost. So that is my goal, is to do that. And then here I'm going to plant my asters, and then here is going to be my filler beds. So my fillers are going to be those status and the explosion grass and all kinds of stuff like that, which I'm going to have a video that talks more about the things that I'm going to be growing for fillers for my bouquet. I'm still in the process of actually learning stuff myself. I've got some seeds ordered that have not showed up just yet. So once those come in, I'm going to share with you guys what I have brought in and that we're going to try to grow and hopefully be successful. So if you come here, these are going to be zinnia beds. So we have 3 zinnia beds because I planned on planting 1 or 2 rows early spring and do another succession plant here. That way when we get into the heat of the summer and some of them are starting to look a little tired, I'll have at least 1 bed to cut off while I reseed these for the fall. Zinnias love it hot and they thrive in the hot weather, but they also like cooler temperatures and absolutely do amazing in the fall. So if you're just now getting started out with picking flowers, I highly recommend that you at least try sunflowers and zinnias and coxcombs. Those are going to be the easiest that you can grow, that gives you a wow factor to have beautiful flowers into the garden. And last year, that is the only thing that I grew. I did do some snapdragons, but I didn't utilize them as picking flowers or into my bouquets because I just absolutely wanted to try them for the first time and just bring the beauty into my garden. This year, I am going to be doing snapdragons into the picking garden. That way we can utilize them in beautiful flower arrangements, and I'll insert some pictures that are not mine of other people that have used these same flowers, which were sunflowers, snapdragons, and zinnias and coxcombs. So hopefully this will bring you some inspiration on things that you want to try when you're just not getting started with your hand up flowers. So talking about snapdragons, These right here, I have 3 rows of snapdragons. Again, snapdragons are a cool weather flower. They do not do very well in the heat. So whenever I get to the heat of summer for Oklahoma, these flowers are going to be petering out. So I want to make it to where I kind of have this little rotation or succession planting. That way in the fall, because we will be starting these snapdragons in summer to put into the ground in the fall, that way next year, early spring, like Mason Ziegler recommends, we're going to try to do that to where early spring we have an early abundance of blooms. And then of course I'm just going to do 1 row of coxcombs. So I hope that this is bringing you guys some inspiration. I know that I don't have a lot to share with you guys now going into the garden because nothing's really growing, but hopefully now is the time to really get some of these cool flowers started. That way 6 to 8 weeks prior to your last frost date, you will be able to have your plot ready and plant it into the ground, where early mid-spring you will have beautiful blooms to pick to bring you joy and happiness. Also, in the list of these flowers that I have not told you guys about, I'm actually going to try to grow dahlias. I've never grown dahlias. I'm so excited about them. I haven't been able to get a lot of dahlia tubers because usually the best time to order those in are in the fall. So I've kind of missed that window of opportunity to get those beautiful name brand dahlias. So this year, because it's the very first year I'm ever going to grow dahlias, I've actually picked up some dahlia seeds from Baker Creek. So there's like a You Win series and then another one that I can't remember, but I'll pop them up on the screen where you can see what I'm talking about. And yes, you can grow dahlias from seed. And what I have found through my research and learning is that dahlias that are planted from seed actually grow tubers. So if you grow these dahlias from seeds and you like what you get, you can just dig them up and save them for the following years and you get to keep them. So how fun is that? Well guys, I really hope that you enjoyed this video today. If you haven't already, please hit that subscribe button and give me a thumbs up, and please leave a comment down below and let me know what you're trying new in your garden this year. And if you're going to be growing flowers, what flowers are you growing? And as always, thank you for watching. Until the next video, God bless.